Hey everyone, in this video I wanted to talk about all of the different segments of growth for super microcomputer. And once I'm through with deciphering all of those different areas that super microcomputer is demonstrating phenomenal growth, you'll start to understand why everyone is talking about super microcomputer stock. So let's take a look at this.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
So overall, third quarter, the company grew revenue by over 200%. And that growth was led by artificial intelligence GPU platforms, which represented more than 50% of their revenue, with AI GPU customers in both the enterprise and cloud service provider markets. They expect this strong growth to continue in the fourth quarter as supply chain issues continue to improve with new air-cooled and liquid-cooled customer design wins. What was remarkable in the most recent quarter, management said earlier when I was reading this, they were talking about, yeah, we grew revenue by 200%, but we could have done better. We could have done better. The reason we didn't even demonstrate more growth was because we were limited with some supply chain issues. We couldn't get all of those inputs that we needed. Otherwise, customers wanted more of our products. And that's surprising. The company not only growing revenue by 200%, but there was actually more demand than they had supply to fulfill. That's how much growth Supermicro Computer is experiencing right now. In fact, one existing cloud service provider, large data center customer, represented 21% of their third quarter revenues, and one existing enterprise channel customer represented 17% of revenues. So they've got purchases from large customers or customers that make big buys. This is companies like when you're looking at large data center customer, maybe it was Amazon Web Services, maybe it was Alphabet's cloud computing segment, maybe it was Microsoft's Azure. These companies are ramping up spending on artificial intelligence capabilities, both for themselves, for their own personal use cases, and to offer in their cloud computing segments to their enterprise customers that want to purchase those services through Microsoft, through Amazon, and through Alphabet. So remarkable growth here from Supermicro Computer. So not only were they experiencing growing demand, but they were also getting higher prices for their products. The average selling prices increased on a year over year and quarter over quarter basis. Now, in the previous quarter, management talked a lot about how they were offering introductory prices so that they could gain market share. This quarter, they started talking about raising prices, average sales prices increasing year over year. That was refreshing to hear that now they've got both sides of the equation working. They've got higher sales through higher unit sales, and they've got higher revenue because of higher sales prices. So both prices are increasing and units are increasing. Two-sided growth for Supermicro Computer. And then if you break it down geographically, you've got growth in almost every area of the world. In fact, you do have growth in every area of the world. Some areas are growing much faster. In the US, 70%, which is 70% of its business, 20% is Asia, 7% in Europe. US revenues increased by 242% year over year. Asia increased by 257% year over year, and even Europe increased by 30%. Now, Europe, that economy is notably growing much slower than economies around the rest of the world. That segment, of course, is plagued with the war in Ukraine, and then also it's getting impacted by the war in Israel. So they've got wars on several fronts going on, and typically that has an effect of reducing business spending, reducing consumer spending. People are more worried, people are concerned, they're saving more money, they're not traveling as much, and so economic activity, understandably, is much slower in that region. And then in the rest of the world, increased by 87%. So across all of its geographies that it operates in, the company grew very strongly, very high double digits, and then in two of its segments in the triple digits. In its most important segment, the US, which consists of 70% of its revenue, it increased by 242%. Growth everywhere for Supermicro. Even its gross profit margin, which is something that I was a little bit concerned about in the previous quarter, its non-GAAP gross margin was 15.6%, up slightly quarter over quarter from 15.5%. So this improved. Now, last quarter, that strategy where they were trying to gain market share, offering better pricing, that hurt gross profit margins a little bit. This quarter, it was a little bit better, but they're still focusing on winning new designs, gaining market share, and improving manufacturing efficiency. So they're still focused on gaining market share. So they're still more willing to offer better deals to win that customer instead of trying to focus on generating higher profit margins. They're trying to focus on gaining market share right now in this surging demand for artificial intelligence. They want to be the one to make these installs. They want to be the one to win these contracts. And then in the third quarter, non-GAAP operating profit margin came in at 11.3%, which is roughly where it was in the second quarter. So revenue absolutely surging higher for Supermicro across the board, across the segments, across its categories, across channels, across customers, growth everywhere from Supermicro. Profit margins staying relatively flat, not increasing just yet. And partly due to the company working on gaining market share, and partly due to the company investing in increasing capacity to fulfill this rising demand. It's expanding rapidly. Its new facility in Malaysia, I believe, is coming online towards the end of the year. It's expanding its existing facilities. So it's really increasing its ability to deliver, its ability to supply. And when it does that, when it reaches the capacity for those and it hits those limits, then I suspect Supermicro can start focusing on profit margins at that point. Right now, it wants to scale up to make sure it has enough demand to fulfill all of that extra supply they've built up, they've readied to come online towards the end of the year. Once they get all their supply up and they, calibrate, they see what customer interest is like, then they can focus a little bit more on profit margins. So right now, that's not the primary focus. Profit margins are okay. They're not great. Operating profit margin 11.3%, gross profit margin 15.5%. It's not great. It's not NVIDIA levels, right? NVIDIA's up in the 70s for gross profit margin and in the 50s for operating profit margin. So they're not up there with NVIDIA. Very few companies are, for that matter, but solid, right? Profitable on the bottom line, double-digit profit margins, and improving given the rising demand for AI. So you can understand why everyone is talking about this company because of this surging growth it's demonstrating on this scale. Thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. I know there's a lot you could be doing with your time and a lot of other videos you could be watching. So I truly appreciate that you chose to watch this one. If you want to see more videos just like this, hit the subscribe or the like button. They'll both help me make more videos just like this one. Thank you again.